Welcome to the video on unification, defining setups. So here we have a recording just from the other day where I am going through what looks to be an A setup. So an A setup, using TrendMag in this example, you'd be sweeping shark food fuel, and then you would be ultimately targeting your 2R and leaving a runner, right? So the A setup hits a stack, and as you can see, we sweep that H6 fuel, and then how am I entering here? I am ultimately waiting for a close beyond the candle that received the trend mag signal, right? So the second that we closed below, as you saw, I'm in that trade, market order in, and I'm framing the 2R, right? Now, in an ideal world, you would be using the clusters as targets. So typically what you're seeing on the whale map there is clustering of levels that are based on larger traders' intention. So of course we don't want to be trading against these big players, right? So it's useful to see these as potential targets. So sometimes when I see prices hovering around a cluster, I might even just take some off, and I think that's what I ended up doing there. If you see, as price came down into those clusters, and we're getting some sort of delay there for price to continue lower, so naturally I'm like, okay, I think in a few moments I just flatten the trade, because I'm seeing on the Sonar there with the neon bar with the plus symbol, we're seeing high imbalance, right? So there's 100% more imbalance on the buy side than there is compared to the selling, right? And there we are. We took full profit at the cluster there with that imbalance forming. Now let's talk about B setups. The only difference with B setups is that we'll have hit a stack, but we won't have actually swept fuel into the stack, or we may have hit the stack and left fuel close by. So let's just draw an example of what that might look like. So we might have fuel up here in the form of shark food or range fuel, like an unmitigated level, and we would come up to the stack and we would get our short signal, only to actually take a trade without that fuel. And so we would be taking a trade without the fuel having been swept. So this gives a reason to think about a trade slightly differently. So the trade management considerations might look something like using lower leverage, trailing your stop at the earliest local potential rejection zone, whether that's a whale map cluster. As you can see, we have one down here. If we were to go short off this stack, you'd be trailing your stop, still ensuring that we have the 2R minimum to be able to frame to that stack. Or we're looking maybe at the structure here, thinking, hey, you know, if we come back down to mitigate that structure, we absolutely don't want to expect price to go further than the mitigation, in which case we see it as structure in the way. And I've already had a number of people asking why a trade didn't pan out. Well, simply if you're just looking at structure like so, higher highs and higher lows, and then you're trying to get in a short, having not even broken a low on the move up in this uptrend? Well, honestly, it's 50-50 anyway, isn't it? So just because we're using these tools doesn't mean you suddenly throw out the context of structure, because if we remember the saying, the age-old saying, trend is your friend till the end. Okay, so identify the trend and just be accepting that maybe we are fighting the trend, and it allows you to frame your trade management much more realistically. So always expecting potential for price to return to your entry. Yeah. And certainly if we've taken a B setup, it hasn't necessarily grabbed the fuel, has it, to actually expect any significant move away from your entry. So that allows us to very confidently manage ourselves throughout the day. All we really need is the ability to frame A and B. So let's have a quick walkthrough of how this B setup played out. So I'll go one bar at a time. So we've hit the stack, right? Step one. Stack turns light blue. Anytime we hit a stack for the first time, it will turn light blue, bringing your full focus to that stack. So all we need now is a short signal on the 1 minute here on the right hand side. So that can come in the form of either an MLE signal, trend mag, true break. Okay, so here we have a true break at the moment. So let's see if that actually confirms. Yes, so it confirmed. On the next bar over, we've actually ended up confirming there, so we could go in short. Here I would place our stop just above the body highs of that structure there that we just broke. Right, and then I will be targeting 2R. 2R is about, if I eyeball it there, it's about that ish. 400, yeah. Just shy of 400. Right? And you can use the tool here just to get that accurate. But where does that align with? It actually aligns with, as you can see, this cluster here on the whale map, right? And also you can see the dashed line there. That's an institutional positioning level which has previously been swept. It's only when they are solid still that they are naked. Yep. And the different colors are ultimately referencing different time frame positioning. Yep. And they do have different strengths, but ultimately easier just to see them all as very strong because they are. Yeah. So we have a cluster here on the well map based on previously swept shark food levels and institutional positioning level previously raided. So we know the big traders are going to attempt to protect their orders, yeah, at those zones. And there we go. let's talk about the Sonar setup. So you're going to hit the stack once again, of course, first and foremost. And then what are you looking for then on the Sonar, right? So you can actually bring these labels closer just using the ladder label distance from price. So let's bring that to 0.1. And so we hit the stack. And what do we want to see? We want to see price having filled some form of limit sell position, right? Or see some dominance on the sell side in the form of a imbalance. A red line at our bearish stack as observed on the Sonar. So maybe you want to just bring a little box across. We can see that hasn't been filled. We have a limit sell position that got filled a little bit earlier. All right. But here and now, what am I interested in? I want to see the first single candle displacement now from the stack, because we have got selling here. We've got significant buying. It's a bit of a fight going on, right? Because the neon, of course, means 100% more in this situation, 100% more buying than selling, right? It's actually not such a bad thing if we can trap some longs, right? So let's see what happens. So now we have suddenly a lot more selling. Yeah. So the single candle displacement, if it happens here, I am absolutely going in. So we just want a body close below that candle. Yeah. Let's zoom in a little bit now that we've got our labels closer on the ladders. We no longer care about that. That was a limit order up there. They pulled it closer. Did you notice that? No close yet. Okay, we've got our close. So we can go short here. Yeah. And same principle applies. For trade management, we want to then observe how close the next cluster down is. So we have what? We have what looks to be an easy 2R if we have our stop above the swing, right? So 2R would be down here. Yeah. And of course, it's nice to see in synchronicity we have the H12 and daily shark food levels swept, but this is just purely going off the Sonar, right? So we have that close below where we're going to set our take profit at the 2R and stop at the high there. Let's see how this performs. And there you go. Brilliant. So that's how you trade using the Sonar on the whale map. Makes sense? So 2R is key here though, of course. And just as a final underscore, what are we using for targets? So we don't typically want to fight the larger traders, do we? So the clusters are absolutely a no-brainer. If you see price starting to resist moving beyond a cluster, probably a good time to flatten. So we have that edge over a lot of other traders who are trying to reach for buy side and sell side liquidity, which, well, more than half of the time it's going to run back to your entry, isn't it? So that's why we have whale map. It's giving us an edge over the majority of traders. Plus, this is a totally new concept, right? So you won't even find this anywhere else. So we almost have like an X-ray vision of the bigger players here. So we trade with them, don't we? So those become obvious targets. And even if we're referencing something like the IPOS, which is even something like the IPOS, it's going to give us institutional positioning, isn't it? So when we see levels that have previously been run, so as dictated by these dashed lines, or levels that are yet to be run, which are the solid levels, well, let's just say those are going to be very clear places to target too. So even ignoring the clusters, these obviously displayed on the IPOS, well, naturally it would be a smart idea to be out of trades before those hit.